Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Same Old Arsenal podcast. Hope you're all doing very, very well. We are back 2 nights in a row. Can you believe it? If you haven't already, please do check out our review of the Bournemouth game yesterday, where we were joined by the wonderful Anthony Gale, son of former West Ham player Tony Gale. And he was giving us his insights on Declan Rice and just what an amazing start he's had to his Arsenal career. But also, we spoke about the Bournemouth game in great detail. Myself, Amanda, Chris, and of course, Anthony were on that. So do go back and check that out. But that's enough of a promotion for that one, because we're already kicking it off into the next show. The games are coming thick and fast, as are the shows on the Same Old Arsenal podcast. And I'm back once again with my lovely guest, LL Cool James. How are you doing, my friend? We're back to preview, should I say, the game against Lens tomorrow in the Champions League.
Yeah, bonjour, ça va bien. Yeah, that's about as much as my French stretches. Very excited. Like I put earlier, it's our second foray into the Champions League, and it's the away games, and these are the ones that I want to see. This is the ones I want to see the performances in. I want to see how the rotation is handled and how we play. This is the most important, for me, the away legs.
Absolutely. And although... games. Yeah, I mean, people are saying this is a game where we've got an opportunity to rotate, and I do think we're going to get into our team lineups and everything a little bit later. But this is a tough away game in the Champions League. Lens have had a mixed start to the season. We'll get onto that as well. But it's not a game we should take lightly, mate. I think if we rotate a little bit too heavily, we could leave ourselves short. So, how seriously do you expect Arsenal to take this game?
I think incredibly seriously, James. I've seen a lot of people talking about their lineups and who's not going to be in, who they want in, who they're not going to be in. And I don't necessarily say that us as a fan base mollycoddle players. However, I do sometimes think that we're incredibly overprotective with that. I'm guilty of it as well. I'm incredibly guilty of it. But I think with Arteta's ruthlessness, he said before that most elite players play 60 plus games a season. So as much as we all want this to be rotated, I can't see him doing it, James. And we are going up against a winning force in Europe now, as well as in our own country, that arguably has a better winning mentality and winning power than the 99 Ferguson United team did. So can you really afford to rotate as much as you want to when you're competing against a juggernaut that is the likes of this Man City side right now? I don't, as much as I'd like to say, yes, we can, I don't think we can.
And it's an interesting point you make there, because coincidentally, this big game comes right before another very big game we've got against Manchester City. So I think that's why a lot of people want to see us rotate. But I'm of the opinion that we need to keep that momentum going. We spoke about it on the podcast last night, but winning breeds winning, essentially. And if we keep that momentum going into a massive game against City, who have lost 2 on the trot, and, I mean, I'm sure they'll pick it up in midweek in whatever Champions League game they've got. But I think we've got an excellent chance to beat City for the first time in a long time. And I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Obviously, we've got this game on Tuesday night, but I can't really blame Arteta for potentially going really strong, because if we want to keep that momentum going, surely that's what you've got to do.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
Lovely stuff. And I mean, it's an interesting comment. There's a bit off topic here from Melissa in the chat box. Hope you're doing very well, Melissa. Tierney's injured again, and I know that's not related to the game we've got coming up tomorrow night. But I mean, Fiona Scott has backed that up with just as well we let Tierney go. I mean, look, I'd never wish an injury on a player, but it's kind of stereotypical of Tierney's Arsenal career. I do hate to say it, because I love the kid so much. I think he's a fantastic footballer when he's fit, and had a brilliant start to his time at Sociedad. They were all, full of praise for him. He had a very good game not too long ago. I think he bagged an assist for one of their goals. And this looked like a really good loan move for him. Obviously, now he's potentially looking at 3 months out. And I think his career at Arsenal is done, to be quite honest. But finding a suitor for him in the summer could be difficult, seeing as, it's his first run of starts in a good long while. And first thing that happens, he breaks down. He was available for the most part of last season, and was, not playing as much, but maybe that's why he was available. It's just such a shame for him to finally get some minutes, and yeah, he breaks down. So I don't
Yeah,
know
I
if you
mean,
wanted to, yeah, go on, mate.
I just feel sorry for him. I mean, when you're still getting injuries as bad as this in a less physical and a less high tempo league, then that just that just spells to me that maybe your Arsenal time is over. And I've just seen Amanda made the comment there that maybe the manager knows. I think he did, and that's he wouldn't let him go unless he felt that he could trust in him or he believes in him. And I think that's like you said, I think he's shot with Arsenal. I don't begrudge him. He never moaned. He never complained. He had success at Arsenal with an FA Cup, and if you want to count 2 Community Shields, you can. Um, so I think he can hold his head up high. He had a very good time at Arsenal. It was just smashed with injuries. Just sadly, diced with injuries. And wherever he does go, I wish him nothing but the best. But in terms of Arsenal now looking to sell him because he is under contract, I think he's got 3 years left. But to recoup any sizable fee, I will be very shocked. I will be very shocked if we get anything more than about £5 to £10 million for him after this season. And
Yeah, and
that pains me as well.
me too, mate. Me too. And it's a real shame because he was one of those players at the start of the transfer window. We were looking at being a guy that we could get 30, 40,
Yeah.
50 million for. I mean, like, the amount of times I saw people tweeting that we could get that amount of money. I think you're bang on. I hate to say it, but he could be another one of those players that come next summer, we're looking at deadline day and still trying to shift him on, which is a real shame because he is an unbelievably good left back. It's just these fitness issues that seem to be a problem. But Arsenal have a history of signing injury-prone players, and I have to say, I love that we're now moving in a way where we're kind of phasing these guys out of the squads. I can't think of many that we've got at Arsenal now. Obviously, Thomas Partey is one that springs to mind, but we've gone out there, we've signed Declan Rice, and then the only other one could be Zinchenko. But again, we've got Kivior there at left back. We've got Tomiyasu who could potentially fill in. And I think we're being sensible in taking Zinchenko off at 60, 70 minutes in games that you would say we've already won. And that brings me on to Lons on Tuesday night. I mean, first and foremost, what's your opening thoughts on Lons this season? I mean, it's been like I said at the start, a mixed bag for them. I think they've lost 4 games. They're sitting 15th in Liga, but they have just won 2 games on the spin, mate. So it's not a foregone conclusion by any means.
Yeah, I mean, they finished second last season in France, so they've arguably got something good about them, and they've just had a bit of a topsy-turvy start to this season. I mean, Lyon, I think, are rock bottom of the league at the moment, aren't they, out there? So it's really all going a bit Pete Tong over there in France at the moment. But yeah, no, I'm not going to underestimate them. They're a good side, James. They got a player, I think it's Wahi. I don't know. I think that's how it's
Yeah,
pronounced.
yeah, yeah.
He's a very, very special young talent. He was linked with us. I think he was linked with Man City. So it'd be nice to see him play. I think they got Haidara that used to play for Newcastle. He wasn't a bad player back in the day. And they got Nampalys Mendy, who was massively, massively bigged up when he went to Leicester, but flopped terribly. He's gone back to France now. He used to be at Nice before. He was another one. He was linked with Arsenal beforehand as a CDM. He was meant to be. I thought he was a very, very good player. But yeah, he ended up at Leicester and flopped it big time. So yeah, I'm not going to take anything for granted. They're at home. They've got a bit of an atmosphere about them. And we'll have to wait and see. We'll see what happens on the day. But I think we got enough to beat most of these teams in this group, James. And we laid the marker last week. Well, not last week, sorry, a couple of weeks back with the 4-0 win. So I think we know what we need to do and how we need to do it. It's just going out there and executing it. But yeah, I don't take anybody for granted, especially in these away ties.
No, and it's I'm of the opinion that it doesn't really matter how poorly a team is necessarily doing in their league. When it comes to the Champions League, it's a totally different story. Even in the Europa League, it can be a very tough game. The crowd gets going, hostile atmosphere, which I fully expect it to be tomorrow night. But quality on the pitch, we should have the beating of Lons, even if we do have a slight bit of rotation in there. We look at their transfers this summer, and as you say, they've brought in Eli Wahi. But they have lost a key player for them in Fofana, who's gone to Saudi, which I have to say I'm really disappointed about because he's a quality player that should have been playing in the Champions League. And they've also lost a Pender, who was a great striker for them, and he's gone to, I believe it's Leipzig. So
Yeah, he's a great forward, by the way. He's a very
yeah,
good player.
yeah, I saw he's already banging in the goals for Leipzig, and he scored a
Yeah.
hell of a lot for Lons last season. So
Mm.
as good as Eli Wahi is, he's not scored for them yet in the league. So, I think it's still very much a transitional adjustment period for Lons. And even though you could argue that we're not fully clicking just yet, we are in a position where we can really take advantage of them
Yeah.
not quite being at their best. And okay, they've won 2 on the bounce, but they are conceding goals left, right, and centre. And I'd be really disappointed if we didn't fully test them in this game and, see something close to a repeat performance that we did against PSV. Maybe it won't be quite that emphatic, but, 2-0, 3-1 win away from home, I think that would lay another marker and, keep this Champions League momentum going and this momentum going in general following on from the weekend. But we do have a very positive bit of injury news, mate. First and foremost, Bukayo Saka. The guy is made of titanium. Hobbled off against Bournemouth, and he's pictured there with a smile on his face in training today. I mean, I don't think there were even any doubts about him not making this game, but there he is, fit and firing. I'm not sure if for me he would start this game, and we'd get onto the team lineups very shortly. But the real
James, can I just say,
of course,
if Bukayo Saka is on that plane, he is start.
I think we all know
he's not taking him to sit on the bench. So
no,
if
it's up to
you
us,
see any
which it will
picture
be, yeah.
of Saka in that nice new green hoodie with the white trim, giving a little thumbs up going up the stairs onto a plane, then know that come 8 o'clock tomorrow night or 7 o'clock when it gets announced on Twitter, Bukayo Saka will be in that starting lineup, my friend.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. And look, I've not got a problem with that. If he's fit, he feels fine to play the game, do it by all means. But if we're 2-3-0 up, take him off, please.
Oh yeah, if we're cruising like we did in the last game at about 55, 60 minutes, if we're 3 or so up, hook them all, mate. Because the game at the weekend, as much as I think our European status as a club is so poor, and I'd love us to make a marker in the Champions League and even win the Champions League, your bread and butter's still the Prem. And for me, I think the game on Sunday has much more importance to it than this one tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely. But we do still need to win this one.
Oh, 100%. James, I want to win a raffle if we're in it. So, yeah, got to win everything.
But the big bit of team news I was going to talk about is that Partey is back ahead of schedule, which I have to say I'm really excited about because I'm not sure if he'll feature in this game, but to see him back in training, especially with that game on the horizon against City, to have a potential midfield free option of Ødegaard, Rice, Partey, I think would be absolutely massive. It's the midfield three that started against City in the Community Shield. And surely if Partey's back in training, there's an opportunity for him to make the squad tomorrow, don't you think?
Yeah, I think like Yamara's put there, I think he'd probably be on the bench and then, he'll get about 20 to 30 minutes potentially. But we'll wait and see on that one. But 100% to have him back, massive lift. And like you said, that three of that midfield, I think that's what I believed we were going to be playing for the majority of the season anyway, even with the inclusion of Havertz. I thought that it would be those three in the midfield because I do believe Rice has got the capabilities of playing in that 8 role just as well as he does playing in that 6 role. But we'll wait and see how that develops. But I'm well happy for that 3 to be our midfield 3 again because I think it's absolutely, strong in terms of they can all play on the ball. They can all get physical if need be. And all 3 of them are very capable of scoring goals as well as setting up goals.
Absolutely. And it does look like Partey was in full first team training today. So based on that, there's no real reason why he can't or won't travel tomorrow. I really hope he does, or if the team's traveling this evening. I'm not too sure on that one. But either way, if he could get even 10 minutes on the pitch tomorrow night, that would be fantastic. And like you say, just to have him
might even bring him on as a right back, James. You never know.
Oh, don't say that. I mean, suddenly the feel-good feeling is back, and then he reminds us that Thomas Partey's a right-back. God, can you imagine the meltdown on that? Gabriel back on the bench. Oh, that's a proposition I don't even want to think about. But a slight negative is, of course, we haven't seen Gabriel Martinelli back, and I know we're talking about not getting ahead of ourselves, but I do worry about him not being able to play a part in that game against City. And I think given that he won't travel tomorrow, obviously, it's extremely unlikely that he would start the game against Man City at the weekend. Are you growing a little bit concerned about that? Because it was originally mentioned that he'd only be out a couple of weeks, and it seems to be a bit more longer than that.
Yeah, but this is the typical Arsenal, isn't it? I remember the days of Abu Dhabi. We'll be back in 2 weeks, and then I didn't see him for like 5 years. So I can't. This was meant to be 8 to 10 days, or whatever, with Martinelli, and yeah, it's stretched into nearly week 3 now. So we'll wait and see, James. But I still believe, even without Martinelli, there's enough there in that position to do a job. Trossard coming back is massive. I said in one of the first podcasts that we did before the year, I remember doing it with Chris about who we think is going to bang, and I said about Trossard potentially in the Champions League and how useful he's going to be in those European ties. I think because he's very good at unlocking defences. And yeah, I believe that he might not start tomorrow, Trossard, but if he does get on there, I expect him to do something. And I think as well, I think Nelson deserves more minutes again. I thought that every time that I've seen him, he looks lively, and I want to see him get a few more minutes if possible.
Yeah, same for me. And when he came on against Bournemouth, I mean, he should have had an assist, shouldn't he? I mean, it was such a shame about Smith Rowe not getting that opportunity. Well, he did get the opportunity, but not being able to put it in the back of the net. I mean, it was a very good fingertip save by Neto, but still, I mean, Smith Rowe's got to bury that. But in the build-up, it was great work by Reece Nelson, who, like you say, every time he's played this season has been a real breath of fresh air. But that leads me on to talking about the team lineup for tomorrow night. Obviously, we very slightly touched on rotation. You're of the opinion that if Saka is on the plane, which we know he is, he will start this game. What lineup are you expecting to see play, or what lineup would you like to see in this game?
Okay, so I'll do what I'd like, and I think it'd be Raya. I think the back four doesn't change. And then the midfield, I'd keep it as Rice. I'd keep it as Odegaard and Havertz. And then the front three, for me personally, James, I would rest Saka, and I would put Vieira as the right winger. I'd have Nelson start on the left, and I'd have Gabby Jesus up front. That's what I would do. But I think he's going to put Gabby on the left and Nketiah up top and Saka on the right. And then he'll keep the rest as what I've said, and then he won't. I saw a lot today. Some of the journalists predicted lineup has Ben White at right back, Tomiyasu centre back, and Gabriel. But I would find it very, very weird that Saliba goes back to France and doesn't play, because I think he'd be going, "Come on, boss, I want to play in France." So, but I have no idea. I mean, that's a potential, but I can't see Ramsdale. I can't see him starting Ramsdale. I think he's going to stick
Really?
with
Because
Raya.
I know, like, we've done the goalkeeper thing to absolute death, but okay, Raya was very good at the weekend once again, but Ramsdale was brilliant against Brentford. And I think
Yeah.
if there was ever a game to start Ramsdale with and prove that, you're going to continue to give him opportunities, this is it, because he's not going to start the weekend, is he, against City?
No,
I mean, it's going to be Raya.
I think though, where he's got the clean sheets and, like you said, building the momentum, I think it's keeping that familiarity with the. I mean, it's not that it's a drastic drop off between who changes anyway, because we saw it against Brentford. It didn't really drop off that badly, but yeah, I think Raya now is his number one. He's going to still be his number one. And again, I keep saying it nearly every show we do. He is the better goalkeeper.
Oh, it's gonna spark some
It,
fire in the comments, I'm sure.
it's just fact though, James. It is just facts. He is better
No,
than.
I'm not disagreeing with you, mate. I just think Ramsdale has the potential to be, an exceptional goalkeeper, and
Oh, of course he
uh,
does.
we're
Yeah.
not getting into this debate again, mate. We can't
No.
go there.
No.
But I think
No.
with the international break coming up, obviously between the last international break and this one coming up, Ramsdale's played one game, that
Yeah.
game against Brentford, and obviously Southgate will be taking a look at that. Ramsdale will undoubtedly be taking a look at that.
James, he picks players that haven't even played. So
This
I
is
wouldn't
true,
worry.
actually. This
You
is
know,
true.
he picks Calvin Phillips for every squad, mate. He's not going to care that Ramsdale's only played one game.
Yeah, Harry
He's
Maguire, I
not going to
mean,
care.
he's barely kicked a ball. He might even be injured, but he'll probably
Yeah.
still make the squad. So, yeah,
Yeah.
no, you make a good point, well made there. But I think, irrespective of that, Ramsdale's going to be thinking that he needs to be playing. And I don't want to see him giving the dead rubbers in the Champions League. I actually want to see him play in games that matter. So my lineup is going to be slightly different to yours, and I would like to see a bit of sensible rotation, I would call it. And I'm basing this on some of the performances that I saw against Brentford that I thought were really, really positive. So I would go for Ramsdale in goal. I still want to see him prove that point that he should be Arsenal's number one goalkeeper. Then I would continue with Ben White at right back. And then I'd go with Tomiyasu and Gabriel and Kivior, which is essentially the back four that starts against Brentford. And I thought they were excellent in that second half when it was very backs to the walls. I would continue with Declan Rice at the base of the midfield and the two ahead of him, Martin Odegaard and Emil Smith Rowe. I would like to see Kai Havertz stay in there, given that he got the goal at the weekend and had a good performance against Bournemouth. But for me, Smith Rowe, again, he missed the opportunity against Bournemouth, but he looks sharp. He looks ready to go. He had the opportunity against Brentford. Let's give him a game in the Champions League. This is a really good game for him to do it in a serious midfield, in the Arsenal first team midfield, essentially. He won't be playing with the likes of Jorginho. He'll be playing with Declan Rice and Martin Odegaard. So that's what I want to see the midfield be. And then up top, I want to see Fabio Vieira on the right-hand side, similarly to you, Gabriel Jesus through the middle, and then I would be happy with either Trossard or Nelson on that left-hand side. But I may be leaning towards Nelson, given that Trossard is coming back from that injury, and bring him on.
I know.
with
I know
20
you
minutes.
said. I know you said you wanted Havertz in there somewhere. Would you accept if he wasn't going to go in the middle? Would you take Havertz playing, as a 9 in this one?
It wouldn't be my preference,
Yeah, same.
simply because Gabriel Jesus was so good against PSV, and he's had these recent games against Spurs and Bournemouth where he's been shoehorned into the team on the left-hand side. Don't think he's been poor by any means, but I don't think you get the best out of him. And what we saw against PSV was Gabby Jesus at his absolute brilliant best.
Yeah,
So
he was
for
class
me,
in that.
yeah, and I think it will bring out the best of someone like Fabio Vieira. It will bring out the best of Emil
100%.
Smith Rowe. It'll
100%.
bring out the best of either Reece Nelson or Trossard. So, yeah, for me, it's definitely Jesus through the middle. But apart from that, what do you make of that lineup, mate?
James, I'm happy with both of our teams, mate. It's just, are they going to be the teams? I used to be able to think when I put my predicted lineup out, I could get at least 7 of these 11 right. I think I'm lucky nowadays if I get about other than the back 5. I think I get the rest complete. Oh, sorry, the back 5 and Rice, Odegaard, and Saka. I think I get the rest of it wrong. So we'll have to just wait and see. But yeah, they're both teams we've picked are more than capable of doing the business against Lens.
You'd like to think so, but then, upon reflection, how many changes have I made? There's something like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And Arteta's not going to do that. If we're being brutally honest, I think he'll probably make about two or 3, which you have to say for the Champions League is probably a respectable amount of changes. I do think we will see a lineup like that, but it might come at a later stage. Sevilla at home, Lonza at home.
Yeah.
Whereas at this point where we do, we need to get the points on the board. It's only match day 2 in the Champions League. If we lose this game or even draw it, it kills that momentum going into City. I mean, I'm contradicting myself because I think the lineup I've put out is good enough to win the game. But
Sure.
if we didn't win it, I mean, surely that would have a knock-on effect going into City.
Well, yeah, mentally, yeah, it's a bit of a block, but you got to get over that ASAP because, like I said, you're playing the top of the top. And there's no room for excuses on Sunday, in my opinion. But I think as well, James, I think maybe that because Eddie won't play on Sunday, he might come on, but I can't see him starting. He might give Eddie a start in this one just to, sort of pad it over. But I don't know.
What did you make of Eddie's performance at the weekend? Because he won the penalty,
Yes.
and I thought his all-round game was pretty good. But as the number 9, I still think it's chalk and cheese between him and Gabriel Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, for as much as I appreciate, I think he's getting better at being more of a sort of link player or making these intelligent runs and everything else. You're going to be when you play 9, especially for a club like Arsenal, you're going to be judged on your goals and your assists. Now, I know that winning penalties, I think, count as assists on fantasy football, but I don't think they account in real life. So it's harsh, but yeah, for me, if you're not producing, you're not going to get given that chance. And I know a lot of people praise him, and I've praised him quite a bit as well. But the huffing and puffing, and the working hard is, like I've said before, is the bare minimum expectation that I expect for any player that's in an Arsenal shirt, James, let alone one that's playing up front and also in a shirt that's number 14.
Yeah, and I have to say, in the game against Bournemouth, I can't actually think of any decent goal scoring opportunities he found himself in.
Yeah,
Do you think that's down
exactly.
to the system and the way we play? Because we know that he's the sort of guy that likes to be on the end of crosses and, last man into the box and things like that. But we don't play that way. So do you think it's, indicative of the system that he's not getting those goals?
Yeah, I think so. But then as well, that some of the chances that we were creating, I just think that we have better players in those areas. I mean, if you look at the very first goal, that header by Jesus, I don't think Eddie attempts that. I don't think Eddie goes up and tries that. Whereas Jesus is like, I will try and do every kind of lost cause. I will fight every lost cause that I can. And so that's the difference, really, for me, is that you've got someone there that will literally try and attempt at anything, whereas Eddie, just it hasn't worked for him.
Yeah, and Jesus, like you say, he's one of those guys that will make things happen. He will bring other players into the team. Whereas Eddie, I do think he's getting better at that side of things. His hold up plays improving. Back to goal, I think he's definitely getting better. But he started this season really brightly. I think he got a couple of goals. But as has always been the case with Eddie, he's in the team for an extended period and it drops off quite quickly. That's not to say he's been poor, because I definitely don't think he was poor against Bournemouth. Won the penalty, always works hard, but like you say, it's the bare minimum expectation. Um, Again, we're going slightly off topic here, but we have been linked to Ivan Toney quite heavily in recent weeks. Um, Rumored price tag of around £80 million. Would you be inclined to make a bid for him?
Not for that price. I think as much as I like him, and I think he could be a potential difference maker for us, James. He's been in the cold for too long, and I think 80 million. That expectation. Now, this is a guy that's full of confidence about himself. So I think, like Declan Rice, he can live up to a fee. But I don't. I think 80 million for him is extortionate. And there has been links to another striker that's in the Premier League that plays in Birmingham and he can play across all the front three. He can't just play up top. So I wouldn't turn my nose up at Ollie Watkins either, James. I think he's a very, very good player, and I think in Arteta's system for Arsenal, that guy would, as the kids would say, cook for
Well, I
Arsenal.
think that's a really good point about Ollie Watkins, because he seems to go through patches of scoring goals and then going a little bit quiet. But like you say, can play across the front foot free. Doesn't seem to really be compared in the same way to Ivan Toney. I'm not sure why, but I think it'd probably cost a similar amount, to be honest. I think he's also about 27 years old. Is he a bit older than
I
that?
think I
Maybe
think he's younger. I think, isn't he,
is he?
Ollie Watkins?
Let me have a quick. No,
I mean, I
27.
saw an absolutely ludicrous rumor today about us going for Isaac, and James, if he's available, he's the one I would.
He won't be.
I know, but when I watch him play, I'm like, you are the most non-Arsenal striker that's playing for somebody. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, he would fit us to a T if he joined.
Yeah, he's silky, isn't he? I love the
Oh,
guy.
he's got that sort of. He's got the power and the strength, but then I'm like, you're so Henri in your finishing and the way that you cut in and everything else that it's just like you'd love. He's another one. He'd love it at Arsenal.
Yeah, but I mean, if there even is a very slight opportunity that we get is that, because we were linked to him before, but
Yeah,
Newcastle signed him for something like 60 odd million, didn't they? So
yeah.
if
Oh,
we
he's
go
gonna
in
he's
for
gonna
him,
cost bags if
oh
we're
yeah,
gonna
he's
go
going to be
for him. Yeah,
costing 100 million plus.
yeah, yeah.
So I don't
Okay.
see that happening. But the one that I would be inclined to go for, if there's any slight possibility of it happening, would be Victor Osimhen, because even though I think that's going to be a yeah,
Yeah.
I know you're shaking your head. It's going to be a
No,
tricky one, but
he's better than all of them.
and he's
You know,
younger.
yeah, yeah,
I think if there's any slight possibility of us having that money in reserve to go for someone like an Ivan Toney or an Ollie Watkins. Given they're 27, not that that's old by any stretch of the
No.
imagination, but if you could
The,
potentially get someone a
the
bit
the
younger.
only downside is, James, is that if you go and get Osimhen in January, he's got the AFCON, and it's like we need someone to be signing, and then straight away he comes in and he fires straight away. I mean, I've got no problem with Ivan Toney, just because, like I've said, he is someone that I believe would take a price tag, just sniff at it and laugh, and he has got a point to prove it, and he's irked, James. He's angry that I think yesterday, is it Tuffalo or something his name is, had come on for Forest, and he had somewhat similar.
Hmm.
If anything, he had the same sort of thing that Tony's done. Yet he's not banned, and Tony is. And I think I think he's got a point to prove to not only himself, but I think to other people, to be like, look, this is who I am. In the words of Simple Minds, don't you forget about me.
And I guess another player that's got a point to prove, going away from the transfer talk, because we're still 3 months away from that again. Emil Smith Rowe, I mean, we touched on him very briefly earlier, but
Oh, I was so gutted for him at the weekend, mate.
yeah, me too. I don't know if you saw the video of him after the game where he looked like he was virtually in tears. He had his head in his hands. You know how big of an opportunity
Yeah.
that was for him, because although we're so accustomed to seeing
Was that was
him.
that because he got knocked or something, or was he just
No,
upset?
I think that was generally because I mean he's pictured in training today, so I don't think that was anything
Oh,
to do with
mate.
the knock.
Oh,
But
bless him. No, he
no,
shouldn't get upset like that.
no, I mean he shouldn't, but you can understand why he did. Like I can fully
Yes.
understand, because he, like I was about to say, we're so accustomed to him scoring goals for us regularly, that it feels like just part of his game. But it must be, well, it is over a year since he last scored a professional goal, so he must be chomping at the bit to see that ball go in the back of the net. For him to score a Premier League goal, I mean, coming off the bench, scoring a goal, it's what he did in his sleep in the 21-22 season. So yeah, I was gutted for him, but that's why I'm so keen on him starting this game, or at least getting a good 30
Yeah.
minutes off the
I,
bench.
I will. I will say though, it's the same as what we talked about with the Brentford game. As much as I go, oh, you should bury that. It's a very good save.
Hmm.
Like the same as that Fleckham one the other day was a good save. The Neto, it was a good save. I think. One of them, one of the two chances, definitely more than the other one. But yeah, there was like, even though did make the save, I'm like, you got to be tucking that. But yeah, the second one still as well was a very good save.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really good chance that he made for himself as well in the game at the weekend. But how encouraging is it to see Smith Rowe getting into those opportunities, creating those chances for himself?
Oh yeah,
It's amazing.
but we we know this. Any true Arsenal fan knows this, James. We know what this guy can do. We've seen it. It's just, again, obviously he's had the surgery now. There was, claims made about his weight and what have you. To me, I know I'm not the fittest person in the world, but he doesn't look like a big lad like me to me. So clearly he's done something right there. And yeah, I just hope he gets more minutes, and he will tuck them away. He's too talented. You don't become rubbish overnight. I've said that so many times throughout the years, and yeah, he's too good of a player to not give him more minutes and more chances. And Arteta knows this as well. He mentioned it the other week. So, and there's plenty of games and plenty of time. Like we've said, tomorrow, if we're 3 or 4 up and we on 55, 60 minutes, hook them, got 5 subs, get the lads on, and then hopefully we'll tuck one in. And what a good moment that is. Someone that's young, that's got us to the Champions League, to come on. I mean, I thought it was very fitting that the first player to score Arsenal's goal on their return to the Champions League was Bukayo Saka. I thought, well, that just, after
Sums it
all the
up.
years that after all the years he worked so hard to get us back there, I was grateful that he was one of the ones that tucked it in.
Well, fingers crossed we do see some more of the Smith on Tuesday nights. But for me, I would definitely be inclined to start him in this game. I just want to keep this good feeling going with him. He looks like he's getting goal scoring opportunities. My only slight reservation would be, at Brentford, he did look a bit knackered after just half an hour. So whether he's got 60 minutes in the tank at the highest level, maybe that's why we might not see him start this game. But like you say, at 55, 60 minutes, if the game is, almost won, or is won, then let's bring him on. So yeah, lot to be positive about. Another player that I do want to briefly touch on that I think has also had a very good start to the season, Takiro Tomiyasu. I thought again came on against Bournemouth, just solid as a rock, mate. He's been fantastic in every game he's played. And you could say the same for Jakub Kiwior, who's found minutes more hard to come by this season. But again, brilliant against Brentford. I know we don't want to make too many wholesale changes to the defence, but when you've got two guys as solid as that, surely they've got to play some games.
Yeah, and Tomiyasu especially I think, is a very big momentum type of player. So the more and more that you play him, obviously, the better and better he's going to get. And yeah, he has been class, James. Like you said, he's a real warrior out there. And even when he's at centre back, I thought he played very, very well and showed that that's an option. But either if he's at right back or he's even inverting on the left hand side, like I mentioned before, he was so comfortable going into the midfield and just smashing them through there and tucking a pass here and there and everything else like that. So yeah, I've got no qualms if Tomiyasu's starting or coming on, and same with Kiwior. And I think Kiwior's one that the more and more he plays, the more and more we're going to be talking about him, because he goes so under the radar, but he just looks so solid. Like I mentioned before, every pass that he makes is progressive. It's not wasted. It's like it's trying to do something. And then he's got a bit about him pace wise as well, that he's looking for a few give and goes out there, which is a bit different. Zinchenko sometimes will lay it off and then he might drift into the middle, but he won't go. Kiwior overlaps a lot more, and he's like, yeah, come on then, let's, I'll take a man on, I'll beat a man. So yeah, you can't moan at that, mate.
No, you certainly can't. It's just times like this where I wish we had Jurriën Timber fit, because he'd be perfect for this game, wouldn't he?
Uh, he was so important system wise to what we were going to do this year, James. And it's amazing that we've, still come out as unscathed as we have. We're still unbeaten. So, there's no complaints from me. But yeah, he was going to be such an important player. You never knew. Maybe a lot of people called for Zinchenko to be pushed further forward. That might have happened if Timber was there. You never know. But
Well,
he was going to fill in left and right so much. Even
left,
he might
right,
have
in the
even
middle.
exactly. He could have done so much. But yeah, he's another one. Hopefully, when he comes back, like there was that clip of Gary Lewin, and it was clear he was talking about Overmars, wasn't it? And I hope that after this bad injury, he comes and does an Overmars, even if it's only for a couple of years. James, I hope that we see the best of him, because on the small sample size that we did, I thought he was excellent.
He was.
He just comes straight in against Man City and was not phased by any of them.
And I think the saving grace with Timber is he is still so young. Like, what is
Yeah,
he? 23, something like
yeah,
that.
exactly.
So he fits into this cohort brilliantly. I think I don't think this injury will be too much of an issue for him, so long as he keeps himself fit, healthy, recovers in time. I'm sure that he's still going to have a fantastic Arsenal career. But it's such a shame that he's not available for games like this, because he would be perfect. But there hasn't been much talk about Timber since he got the injury, and since he's not really been a part of the squad. But if we were to get him back in, say, March, and he was able to play a part in those final 2 months of the season, how big a part of the squad do you think he could be?
Oh, if it's anything like if it was anything like he was at the start, pivotal, pivotal, James. Uh, he looked like he'd been there for ages when it was like his debut. First ever Community Shield type game. And yeah, I think he was so confident. He looked like he was absolutely ecstatic to be playing for Arsenal as well. and
Absolutely.
and that means everything. And what I liked as well was that the other players that we signed had such a big talk about them, and yet he very again, like I mentioned a minute ago, he went very, very under the radar, and I don't think that bothered him. And in his interview, he said that his best qualities were obviously asserting control and calmness. And I'm like, even though Saliba, Gabriel, White, and everything, they've been fantastic. I've got no problem whatsoever about having an extra calmer presence in that back line. I mean, Rice, I think helped. I think Rice calms them down a lot more. There's another leader there in that squad, and I think he's another one that, with that back four, he asserts calmness with them as well. But yeah, I don't mind having more calm heads, because I don't want to jump the gun, but at the weekend, they've got previous about winding our players up, especially the two fullbacks. They like to go for Ben White, and they extremely love winding up Zinchenko. Well, the guy who done it, Mahrez, isn't there anymore, but he used to love winding Zinchenko up. So I could see if Timber was available that he wouldn't play Zinchenko in that game, and he'd put Timber in there. I think he might. I think he might. I think he might flip it at the weekend. I think he might want the person that's better 1v1.
Be interesting. I mean, it's good that we've still got the options.
We've still got another show to do that, though. We've got another show.
We do.
We do.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But yeah, I mean, I think Arteta is conscious and aware of our lack of depth in that area. That's why we've seen Zinchenko go off early so many times in games, which is good to see. But yeah, I wish he was available. As Yamara's put in the chat, he's only 22 years old. I looked it up, and he's only just turned 22 this year. So this injury shouldn't be a problem. He's young enough to recover, and fingers crossed we see him back in the squad very, very soon. But I suppose, you're talking about calm, composed players. He definitely fits into that category. Begs the question as to why we are so erratic at home. I don't want to get onto the City game at all, but you look at our squad and, okay, we're young, but that back four we've got is very composed. Just look at how composed the entire team was away at the Vitality Stadium. Why can't we do that at the Emirates?
I think we just get giddy. I think we get too excited, James.
So do I.
Yes. Yeah. But I think sometimes we're not using the tactical side of the brain, and it's just purely running on vibes.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've been very, very guilty in my life at doing. And yeah, I do wish at times that I used my tactical mind instead of my running on vibes.
Well, sometimes, it's good to run the vibes, but
it is
not the Emirates.
It is. My life motto, James, has always been, if it feels good, do it. But that's a very, very dangerous way to live your life. And I would not recommend it in high caliber professional football.
Well, from time to time.
Or if I was a high caliber professional athlete, which I'm not.
One day. Don't let your dreams be dreams.
Well, if the Sidemen game, if they need a ringer, if they need a terrible ringer, I am available. This channel's got a big reach, and it can make dreams come true. So, if there is a 2024 Sidemen game, I am happy to play in it.
Well, KSI,
for about 10 minutes. I will give you 10
JJ
minutes. 10 minutes is all I can give, because I will be coming up to 33, so I will be at the end of my professional career.
Hey, don't say that, mate. Look, Chiellini was still thriving at 33. That's how I try and look at it. So
yeah, but I'm not playing at the back, James.
You're not playing at the back. Okay, well, Di Natale didn't thrive till he was in his 30s.
Yes.
So look at it that way, mate. And look at Giroud, 37, coming up to, I think. I mean, at the peak of his powers. So that's how we've got to look at it, mate. That's how we've got to look at it.
I've just got a big head, James. So it's literally like get them crosses in, and we'll see what happens. Because I've got no pace. I've got no left foot.
What else do you need?
Well, this is it. From a dead ball, lethal. But mate, asking me to move around and everything, you got no chance, mate. No chance.
Well, I'm sure
I get tired grating cheese, James. So I don't think I'm ready for high intensity football.
I know how you feel, mate. Cardio isn't for me either. But before we go off topic and talk about cheese and big heads, what is your prediction for Lons tomorrow evening?
I'm going to go for 3-1. I would like a 3-0, but I'm going to go for 3-1.
So we've not conceded a goal yet away from home.
I know.
I think that's going to continue, and I'm going to go for 3-0. Before we do wrap up, who do you fancy to get on the score sheet?
Well, let's judge it by who I think is going to start. I'm going to go for Odegaard. I think Martin Odegaard's going to score for us.
Yeah. Anyone else?
He'll do his trademark smash. I think if Trossard plays, he'll probably pick one up. But do you know what, James? I'd love for Havertz to score again.
Me too.
Just because there's nothing wrong with a bit of Shakira every now and then, is there?
No, absolutely not. And I think we're going to be hearing that chant from
so do I.
to finish.
I think that's going to be the first thing they sing as soon as it kicks off.
I hope so. And to be honest, look, I know I was talking about Smith Rowe starting, but I will be equally happy if Havertz is to start because I do think he's finally finding his feet. Not only did he get the goal against Bournemouth, but his all-round performance was positive. I thought, not mind-blowing, but it's going in the right direction. If he could top it off with another goal contribution of any sorts tomorrow night, that'd be fantastic. Whether it's from the start, from the bench, let's see some more Kai Havertz.
You see Stevie Nicol on ESPN digging us out for giving
Yes, I
Havertz
certainly did. That guy
ridiculous.
is absolutely mental,
You,
I've
you
got
know,
to
you
say.
know. I think it's what 16 out of 17 career penalties he scored,
Yeah.
and he scored 3 last season in the league. Oh, it's
And why
unprofessional.
wouldn't
It's
you? Why
unprofessional
wouldn't
giving him a
you?
penalty.
I don't understand why they've got such an issue with that. It's a real show of unity of this team, I think, to
Yeah,
give him the penalty to boost his
exactly.
confidence. Yeah, people will always find something with Arsenal, mate. It's just the way
Yes,
it
they
is.
will. Yes, they will. Look at the whole VAR situation at the moment, mate.
Oh, yes, going back to
When
Garnacho,
it
isn't it?
happened to us, nobody cared. Yet now it's happened to Liverpool, and the media really like Liverpool, and Liverpool like to complain a lot. It's all of a sudden it's a crisis. It's the end of the world now that it's happened to Liverpool. There's decisions, James, going back last season, even further, that have affected every single team. Yet the minute it happens to Liverpool, it's the end of the world as we know it.
Absolutely. But fingers crossed it does spark some change because, oh, God, that Diaz goal was ridiculous. And as we saw
Yeah,
last season,
yeah.
the way it happened to us against Brentford, I mean, this just can't go on. But fingers
No.
crossed. And, touch wood, we don't have to deal with that sort of officiating tomorrow night because we are in the Champions League. We don't
Yeah.
have to worry about the
And I
PGMOL.
think the Champions League have the same offside technology as the World Cup. They're not like us over here that
Just
no,
automated, isn't it?
the English way's the best way. We know better than everybody else, clearly.
Of
So
course we do.
yeah,
Of course.
you
Well,
know,
thank you very much,
we
Howard Webb.
invented the game and all that. Rubbish.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
On that note, mate, I think we'll leave it there. Thank
Yes.
you very much for joining me as always. Any final thoughts?
Just everybody enjoy the game. And I saw that Fiona was in the chat. I saw Fiona's tweet earlier, and I'm very happy that she's doing well. And hopefully she'll be back at the Emirates soon for everybody to come say hello and see her.
Yes, likewise. I saw the tweet as well. Well done, Fiona. I mean, can't imagine what you're going through, but that must be such a weight off your shoulders to have that positive news. So fingers crossed, yeah, to echo JJ, we see you back fit and firing at the Emirates in the not too distant future. But thank you to everyone, as always, that has joined us in the chat room this evening. Just a quick mention to our sponsor, Ruth Beck Art. Make sure you go and follow her on Twitter. Check out her wonderful pieces. Check out her shop on Etsy. And we are, in the process of brewing up another giveaway, which we'll be doing via Twitter.
Christmas cards should be out soon as well. Want to keep an eye on them.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Maybe we'll do a Christmas card giveaway. I'm not sure if there's a Halloween themed one, but we're open to all seasons. So, Ruth, if you're listening and you've got any ideas for collaborations, let's do it. But do keep an eye on our Twitter because we will be doing it via that platform, and we'll have another giveaway in the next week or so. But JJ, thank you as ever for joining me, mate. You can follow JJ. His Twitter handle is right there at LLCoolJames91. And the James Johnston Football Channel.
Thank
as
you.
always. And thank you to everyone that has tuned in this evening. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow us, and download us on the various audio platforms. From myself and JJ, up the Arsenal. See you later.
Reds.
Bye-bye.